So how do you get to the point where you have more than $10,000 sitting in an investment account? That's a question we want to answer. I believe it's through extreme professionalism. Yeah. The variance will swing back the other way. The next thing we know, we're playing trash to try to beat his trash. Why, hello there. Welcome back to the channel. Why am I doing a Bane voice? I'm not sure. If you lack financial education, you're never going to be able to build wealth. We're talking about that today. Also, I've got money to give away. I'm updating you on my investment accounts, and I'm updating you on my poker bankroll. If you don't know, if none of that makes sense to you, I'm a poker player, and my goal is to build my poker money into a financial asset so that rather than quitting my job to play poker, I can just quit my job. So about 2019, I'm doing a little bit of investing. Then 2020 hits, COVID, and I'm not going to get into all that. That's a whole political thing that we're just going to stir ourselves up till we're angry and red in the face. That's not the goal of this particular video. What I want to talk about, though, is that there was a moment where you and I got locked in our houses, and then the printing presses came on, and they said, just stay home, we're sending you a check. And I scratched my head and thought, how are they sending me a check? What money does the government have to give me? Well, they don't really have any money to give me. Where's this money coming from? Now, that might seem like a stupid and naive statement, but back then, I just wasn't really thinking about money. Why did prices always go up? Because they just did. It's just a fact of life. I never asked the why. I should have, but nobody educated me on these things. And so at this point, it just was happening. It just was occurring. Because we had this weird period in history, it caused me to start researching how stocks work and how money works. And one of the key books that I read was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read it in, I think, a day and a half. I read it very quickly, and I just stayed up and kept turning pages, and I was like, this is blowing my mind. Why have I not had this education? If you've not had it, let me give you just the simplest portion of this book as small of a summary as I can give you. You want to own things that pay you to own them. That's the idea. You have assets and you have liabilities. Now, this book gives you way more than that. But the biggest thing I took away was, if you have an asset is something that you own that's going to reward you with cash flow for owning it. So let's say you own a business and you've worked yourself out to the point where you're no longer needed. Your manager runs it and you've got all these employees and it's just writing you a check so you can live your lifestyle. Now, that business doesn't really exist. It's pretty hard to be that removed. But when you own stocks, that's essentially what you do. You stay interested and you follow the company, but you just own a paper asset, a portion of this company, and then they pay you to own that company. They return their gains to the shareholder. And so it became very interesting to me. You can have the rental houses, you could have stocks, you could have all kinds of different ways to make money. But the stock market seemed like, oh, I can't maybe afford to buy a rental house right now, but I could easily begin to buy some stocks. Now, let me be clear. I had no idea how to research a stock at this point. I had just barely started to dip my toe in the water, and I started talking with a friend of mine. We got into crypto. We got into stocks. We really started to explore some of these things, and I got a financial education both through doing research, but also through getting destroyed by doing things wrong and learning lessons from them. At this point, basically, I've learned that there are 3 kinds of investing, and I want to share those with you in case you don't know them. There's short-term, mid-term, and long-term investing. Now, if you're on the short side of the spectrum of investing, you can be owning something for minutes, hours. Like, you might not own it for very long. You might buy it at the beginning of the day, watch it appreciate to a certain point, and say, okay, I'm ready to take profit, and you get out of that position. Now, when you're a mid-term trader, you're basically looking at a couple of things. You're looking for, it's called swing trading, and you're watching charts and seeing trends, and you say, hey, this is about the point where I expect this to rally up this much. So I'm going to buy it here, I'm going to hold it for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to sell it. You might end up holding it for 6 months or a year. Now, when you hold for a long term, what you're doing is you're saying, these are the stocks that I believe will massively appreciate over time, or are going to pay me a dividend to own them, or both. So you can own a stock for multiple reasons. Now, if you listen to someone like Warren Buffett, he's going to tell you that for him, owning a stock forever is correct. He's just never going to sell, right? He's going to buy a company that he believes is strong, and he's just going to hold it. Now, it doesn't mean he never sells, but his time frame that he has in mind is, I have no reason to sell this unless the company shows me that I have to sell it. And so for him, he's going to buy a lot of things, hold them, and allow that company just to return to him the benefits of that strong company. So he's owned things like Coca-Cola that's just paid him for years and years and years and years and years. So I have a very heavy portion of my portfolio is just that. I've got things that I'll never sell. They're going to pay me a dividend or they're going to appreciate, and I'm comfortable with that. Now, the IRA account has grown to 5 figures because of recent investments from the poker table, and I'm excited about that. It was a goal to break through 10,000 before the end of the year, and we have done it. All right, the time has come, my friends, to look at the account. All right, so here is where we are at. As of right now, we're at $10,813.67, and at one point when this market was rallying, we closed in on $11,000. Now, obviously, it's cooled off a little bit since then, but things were quite good. So last time I talked to you, we were close, $9,739.30 in the account. I made an investment because we had some wins, and I'm going to talk about that soon. Boom, that busted us up through the $10,000 level, and now we've been appreciating ever since. We went on a rally with the markets, and one of the big things that I was playing recently is gold. Now, I haven't been talking to you about gold or mining companies because they just haven't been doing anything. I've been telling you, though, that I've been watching gold and silver. Well, the time came, right? It broke through, it made its move, and so it was time to add. So one of the things I did recently is that I was watching Newmont mining, I was watching gold prices, and I saw Newmont doing this. So let's look at the chart. We've got a level here, boom, 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 tons of interaction. It had taken this huge drop. I think it was oversold at this point, bounced off of this level, and I said, I got to take a position here. So I went ahead and bought in, and I've made some money on the way back up. Now, it hasn't gone totally wild yet, but Newmont Mining right now is sitting, let's see, let's get an all-time high here. So previous all-time high is going to be about $81, is that right? $86 here. Okay, so $86 the previous all-time high. I bought this stock around $35, yeah, so $35. Gold, meanwhile, just this last week, punched through to a new all-time high. Now, these are Newmont Mining. You don't, if you know anything about mining, you know that Newmont is one of the major gold miners, and it's in the S&P 500. So this is a common company that mines gold, and it's a U.S. company. When gold is going up, this should be going up as well. Now, gold's making some pretty big moves. Newmont is making some very small moves in comparison. But if you think about this company, oil costs are dropping, which is one of their input costs, right? Energy in order to mine the materials out of the ground. And gold is going up. So their return right now on their gold is actually higher than it has been, and their input costs are going down. That is a great formula for Newmont, and yet somehow it's not taking this huge move yet. But I bought it. I'm going to watch it. I may continue to add to it depending on what it does. This is a company, if gold is at an all-time high, I feel like this company should be doing much better. I'm going to hold it for a while. I expect this one to continue going up as long as gold continues to do well. The other company that I bought was not necessarily a gold miner, but it was in the metal space, and that's Rio Tinto. So let me show you Rio Tinto. So Rio here has a few trend lines that it's interacting with, but what I like about Rio, now it's really forming this wedge formation, this wedge pattern, and I think it's going to break to the upside, and here's the reason I believe that. Rio Tinto has a bunch of minerals that aren't necessarily gold and silver. They're a lot of the primary components that make up renewable energy and infrastructure. Now, if you're watching anything going on from our government, who is printing lots of money to spend on infrastructure, you're going to know that these inputs are going to become more and more sought after as projects are developed. We're building bridges and roads and solar and all these things that we're going to be working on as a country. Well, Rio Tinto has those things, and they are a commodity that is going to be, dollars are going to be traded for, right? So the more and more dollars are seeking out these things, the more likely they are to rise. And then I did buy some just spot SLV, silver, to play silver. Now, it hasn't really done anything yet, but as gold moves, typically silver eventually follows on a delay. And so if gold gets to new all-time highs, which it now has, silver is half that. Silver's all-time is around 50, and it's right now trading around $25. So yes, I'm beginning to nibble. I'm beginning to buy there. I think it's going to break out and explode higher. And when it does, I think you could easily 2x your money. And so that is something I want to have exposure to as well. Time to talk some bankroll. So since we started this in the middle of July, we now have $4,947 worth of profit. So you might be asking, where is that profit coming from? And originally, when we went down to the lodge, I was expecting to make a decent amount of money. We were going to play for almost 20 hours, and I thought, hey, this is going to go pretty well. Well, it was basically break even. By the time I paid all of my time, I was down $130 in the weekend. Not great. Like, for all those hours put in, that's a pretty poor result. However, it's not like a devastating loss or anything. I just expected to do much better. We lost $370 on the first day, gained $240 back on the next day. Kind of a break-even trip. Sort of disappointing from a financial sense, but it was an absolute blast. I look forward very much to returning to Texas. It was way too much fun. When I got back from Texas, I ended up playing 3 short sessions, all at the Q, and I made $684, $395, and $120. That means I got some money to give away. Let's pick some winners. Since those 3 sessions all occurred within about a week, I'm smashing them together and giving them away divided 3 ways to these supporters. Thank you for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you. Hope you enjoy whatever you decide to buy with those. It's been a while since I've given you an update, and I know there's a lot that I still want to give you, but for this one, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for being here. Have a great week. I got tons more coming your way, and I'll talk to you again soon.